And next team we're going to cover in alphabetical order is the Minnesota Timberwolves. There's probably a lot of things to talk about here. We haven't had to chat about the Timberwolves for a little while because obviously they didn't make the playoffs. They're one of the worst teams in the NBA. They have the number one pick in this year's draft. So, well, first of all, obviously they are rebuilding. Would you agree?
Well, it's not a full rebuild because you still have Karl Anthony Towns. So unless you trade him away, you're rebuilding. But I feel like right now their goal is just make the playoffs. So they're not a contender, but right now they're kind of pushing for that 7th, 8th seed, which I will note they've been trying to the past few years and haven't really done it successfully. But yeah. I feel like that's not where they are. They're not in total tank mode. They're kind of trying to push for a playoff seed.
I would argue that they should be rebuilding. They may not be trying to rebuild, but I think that they should be. They should be trying to trade bad contracts and other assets for young players and draft picks. With the exception, I mean, Karl Anthony Towns is locked away through till 2024. So you've got that man on a contract. You've got D'Angelo Russell under contract till 2023. They're your two big players. You're going to add another first-round draft pick. He's going to be in books for 4 years. Take this time to gather some more assets, build a team. They're horrible defensively. They've got no defense on their team. So try and accumulate some young, potential athletic players that can grow into that defensive role, and then see if you can go from there. If you keep trying to make the playoffs too soon, you're going to end up in our third category, which we haven't mentioned yet, which is no man's land. You're going to end up at that the Sacramento's. Man, that's where they've been at for the last 10 years. So I don't think you want to be there. So for these guys, I reckon another year or two, developing, playing young guys, and trying to get assets moving forward.
Well, look, I'd argue that they've already got the two core pieces in D'Angelo and Cat, and they're locked down. You've got 3 seasons for D'Angelo, 4 seasons for Towns left in the contract. And right now they've got the first overall pick. So if they hit on this pick, that could be the last piece they need really to try and take them over the edge because they're still all young players. So, and I feel like it's not great to kind of encourage a losing culture. I feel like historically that's bad. It kind of promotes losing in the future as well. So they should try and get the best talent they can to become an all-star caliber player with those two, and then build off those, core of 3, and then hopefully in 2 or 3 years when the draft pick that they make this year has had a bit of time to mature and grow. At that point, they can really start to contend.
Yeah, like I'm not saying you should throw games, but I'm just saying, someone like a James Johnson or, some of these other guys, they shouldn't be getting minutes. Like it should be these older guys, like Cat, D. Russell, the number 1 draft pick. Sure, give them as many minutes as they can handle. Even someone like a Malik Beasley or, a Kogi or someone like that needs to be playing lots of minutes. Naz Reid should be getting lots of minutes. Jarrett Culver should be getting lots of minutes. And getting in... do they still have their coach, actually? Who's their coach?
I think they... maybe they're on the search. I'm not sure if it's been expired, but they didn't fire him. I think it's just a question mark if he's still under contract or not. But there is actually a bit of media saying they might actually be selling this team. So... I don't know what's that going to affect, but if the owner decides to sell, you would think the new owner would want some kind of input into the number 1 draft pick that's happening, wouldn't you? But anyway.
Yeah, true. I wonder how that all shakes out. But I look at their squad here that they are all young. I don't think that personally, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs next year. I think just a couple more years, get some Karl Anthony Towns is still 24. Like he's young and I know we compare him to someone of a similar age who's, similar height, like a Giannis, and he's 25. And look at him, look what he's done. But I still think that they've got time. They've got the players that they want are under contract. Let's just chill.
How much are you going to pay Herman Gomez, and are you going to pay Malik Beasley? Is they're expiring.
If you want anything more, then I like Beasley actually. I do like Beasley. Hernan Gomez, if he wants more than a minimum. See ya. Just get out. Cool.
He's reasonably young though. I don't know. I feel like he's a serviceable.
But he's not the future. He's not the future. You save your capital for next year's free agent class
because you need players to play. You can't just put D'Angelo and Towns out there. So you just want them all to a youth movement.
Yeah, I'm going full my league. Just clear the house.
They're all the old vets. Well, you need a couple old voices in the room to maybe it wouldn't mind having James Johnson. He's been at Miami for a while. Miami have good kind of like, protocol. It's good to have a couple of guys like that in the locker room.
Well, look, he's going to re-sign. He's got a $60 million player option. He's obviously going to come back on that. No, he's not. Sure. He's not going to say no to that. But so he'll be there, and I don't mind him being a voice in the locker room. But just don't put him on the fucking court. Like
he was his minutes. Give him 15 minutes or something.
He was playing crazy minutes at the end of last year. Like I had him on my fantasy team. That was how ridiculously he was playing at 25 minutes a game. There's no need for that. Like why are you doing that?
He was putting up pretty good numbers there.
Oh, he was. He was doing great, but it just doesn't do anything for the Timberwolves. So that's where I think they should. That's where they should go. Who do you think they should take at the number 1 pick?
That's a good question. I don't know. I've been tossing up between a few people. I'm kind of like, I don't really like LiAngelo Ball. I think
you don't.
LaMelo. I always confuse these guys. The Ball boy.
LaMelo.
Yeah,
LaMelo Ball. Yeah.
LiAngelo. He shouldn't be drafted either. Is he still around?
I think he's over in Europe.
He's over in Europe, is he? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a weird draft. I feel like honestly, I think whoever's going to, I feel like it's just going to kind of be, to some respect, a bit of a bust, regardless of who you take. I think they're all just a bit, the hype of it, and I think it's just going to be a bad draft. So
yeah.
I feel like the height of anyone in this draft is kind of like all-star, but not like an actual superstar, which is what you want for your number 1 pick.
Yeah. Look, I kind of agree with you. If they have the number 1 pick, they're not going to trade it. They just had it. I would take LaMelo Ball. I think he's the best player in the draft. I think he has the highest upside. He may not reach it. If he was in another draft, let's say last year's, he probably wouldn't have been top 5. But in this year's draft, I think he's got the highest upside. You swing for it. He's 6'7", so he and D'Angelo Russell can play together. I don't love it though. So what I would like to see them do, if they can, is try and trade down, maybe get another draft pick in the process for next year or the year after, or a young player in return, and then move back in the draft. There's a few defensive wings and power forwards in the draft that look to be serviceable. Good team players that potentially may make one all-star game in their career. So I think that's the play for them. I don't know who's the team that wants to move up in the draft. Like the top of the draft seems to be pretty guard heavy. So maybe someone like the Knicks or even Chicago might want to get up there. That's what I see would be a good thing. Like, would you trade the number 1 pick for the Knicks pick and one of their young players, like a Mitch Robinson or someone like that?
Yeah, I'd do something like that. I think the more you talk me into it, I think it probably does make sense. Most of the mock drafts have Anthony Edwards, which I guess would be a good fit for them, but I feel like he's not the star that everyone's expecting. So I think it is smart to trade down, spin the dice on someone else, and then try and get another asset, like you were saying, make a bit of a trade, try and get some trade with another young player as well, have more assets than before.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's the way they go. Whether or not they do it, and whether or not other teams are willing to do that, because everyone knows that this year the draft isn't great. But I could see a team like the Knicks doing that. Swing over the fences, getting the fans excited. Who knows?
That is something the Knicks would do, isn't it? And then they probably draft a power forward.
I reckon Frankie Nick, what's his name? Ntilikina. Yeah, he would look good on this Minnesota team.
Actually,
good defensive guard.
I've still got a little bit of stock in Frank the Tank.
Yeah,
he came into the league really young, and I feel like people do kind of knock him for that. I mean,
and plus he's playing
like Obi Toppin, who I think isn't he Obi about 21 or 22, who's drafted. He's like scheduled for the top 5.
Yeah, I think he's old. I think he could even be older than that. Obi Toppin.
And then you got someone like Frank Ntilikina, who he's how old is he? He's pretty damn young.
Yeah, he's been in the league a few years, and when
he's pretty much the same age. Frank's 22 years old.
Yeah, and plus, he's playing on the Knicks. You're probably not going to develop into the player that you're capable of being on the Knicks. Let's be fair, especially when they seem to just change their decisions all the time. And anyway, so there you go, Frankie Ntilikina over to the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Is that the trade? I like it. Let's make it happen.
And move down. Maybe you throw in a second rounder as well.
We'll have to ask Michael, the New York Knicks fan, next time he's on.
Yeah, I'm sure he'd probably be pretty wrapped with that, I'd say. All right, let's move on. Oh, actually, one question before we go along. Do you think that Karl Anthony Towns and D'Angelo Russell are capable of being the cornerstone championship team, like pieces for a championship team. Like,
I feel like this is an easy one, and the answer is no, they cannot. I am not sold on Karl Anthony Towns, and I'm not sold on D'Angelo Russell. I do think offensively they'll be a pretty cool 1-2 punch. They might be worthwhile watching, but I feel like literally their ceiling would be, with not a good piece around them, maybe, I think it's going to be a low seed. It might be like a 6-7 seed, something like that. I think it's their ceiling, and it's maybe I'll say a second round team. Their ceiling is a second round team.
Okay, interesting. I guess, and I revealed this on our top 15 players, I think I'm higher than most people on Karl Anthony Towns. Look, I get he's not a good defender, but like as a big guy, this dude is ultra skilled. Like he can shoot really, really well for a big man. He's an excellent ball handler. He's actually, talk about good passes, he's not Jokic, but he's a decent passer. And I think D'Angelo Russell, like he's had a bit of a rough... Yeah, he's also had a bit of a rough career so far in terms of like reputation. I feel like he's gotten a worse rap compared to like actually how good he is. Like he's a decent player. He can shoot the ball. He can handle it pretty well. Obviously, like the biggest glaring weakness between those two players is defense. But in saying that, when we were talking about the last team, the Nuggets, the biggest glaring weakness we found in those teams was defense. So look, I think they're like just a worse version of the Nuggets with less pieces around them.
I think that's a good way to put it, actually.
Yeah.
That it's a worse version of the Nuggets.
Yeah. So, and obviously, I didn't think the Nuggets were going to win anything. I'm probably in agreement with you, but maybe they can make a conference finals. Let's say that. A conference finals. Oh, actually, now that I say that out loud, it sounds silly.
They made the 8th seed when they had Jimmy Buckets carrying them and closing out games, and they haven't made a playoff since.
Mate. Yeah, well, what if they draft someone who turns into a Jimmy Buckets? Who knows?
Yeah,
maybe Anthony Edwards turns into something special. Who knows? I don't know. Yeah, maybe conference finals is a bit rich. I probably agree with you there with that second round. Maybe they're lingering in the playoffs for a couple of years.
They have to hit on this draft pick. If they hit on this, I feel like it could change. If they actually do end up getting like a superstar talent, which I think is unlikely, but it could happen. And
we're all just really spitballing with these young, talents in the draft. We don't really know what's going to happen until, Giannis was pick 15 in the draft. Things like that can happen.